the issue of suicide as a cultural, as a military cultural response, that is not a part of our narrative as black people. Nor is it a part of the Islamic narrative. Okay, in fact it was something that in the modern age was reintroduced by the Tamils in their struggle against the Indian hegemony, against the natural homeland, of the Tamil, who are the original people of India, who are also the dark people of India, the black people of India, the original inhabitants who were forced out and forced down into Sri Lanka by the Aryan invasion, the Aryan intrusion, the white Aryan intrusion into India. So it's still a black and white issue, but there are different cultural or different tribal confederation in their response to oppression. And it is a sort of despair, it's a sort of nihilism, that Islam really does, Islam, we don't encourage that level, especially to that. What is happening here is that the narrative that is being scripted is that, you can destroy innocent people. You see, you are destroying innocent people going to work about their business, men, women, children in public spaces. Where is the Islamic, how can they legitimize this in Islam? So what has happened is that there's a verse that they took out of context, where Allah says, fight them as they fight you. Fight them as they fight you. Correct? But that is not the whole verse. He said, but do not exceed the bounds. Do not go over the boundaries. Now, they interpreted, the modern scholars, some of the modern young people have interpreted this thing to mean, when he said fight them as they fight you, they took that to mean that if they bomb you and your kids and women, you bomb their kids and women. If they rape, you rape. That is obscene. The context of the verse, the historical context of the verse, which is called Asbabun Nuzul in Islam, the reason of revelation, right? What happened is that the Muslims were forbidden to fight totally. There was no provision in Islam for fighting, even for self-defense. Okay? And what had happened was that there was a ban on even fighting in the sacred months. Okay, there were certain months that are sacred. You're not supposed to engage in any hostilities. And this was even before the mission of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. I'm not talking about the mission of the Prophet Muhammad. This was an Arab cultural tradition that they inherited from Abraham, during the months of preparation of going on the pilgrimage. All of the sacred months are about the preparation for going to the pilgrimage. Okay? One is preparation to go, and one is preparation to come back to your home. So Allah allowed the Muslims to defend themselves even in the sacred month. That is what that verse is about. It has nothing to do with if somebody bomb your family, you go and bomb their family. Okay, it's a perversion of the Islamic of scholarship. And how they get away with it is that they quote the verse, but they hide the reason of revelation, because they have the view that the reason of revelation has no theological or explanatory impact on the verse. So what they do is that they take the verse and remove the historical context. Right? So now if you do that, then you can do anything with that verse. Right? That verse will underwrite anything. Right? Anything that verse can underwrite. If you remove the checks and balances and the rules of interpretation. This is what we have in here in the modern world today is the context of the rules of interpretation. And that goes back to the question of scholarship. Because what has happened is that the scholars have dominated the field of Islamic learning, where there's an explosion of knowledge. We have Sheik Google. You can just type in anything and he will give you a response, right? But what is missing in that interplay of seeking information and getting a response is a human context. Okay, is a human context. Now there's a saying in Islamic scholarship. It's not a statement by the Prophet Islam. It's a statement by the teachers and scholars over the history. They said that a person who does not have a sheikh, the devil or shaitan becomes a sheikh. Because you cannot, if you read a book, you can just take the book without the human interplay. Okay, if you learn from a teacher, there's a human interplay between yourself and the teacher. But there's no humanity between yourself and Google. It's a machine. It collects information, right? Without context, without the human investment. Okay? So what happens is that you have a sort of robotic, unfeeling, uncaring response and interpretation being let loose on the Muslim population. So whilst it's good to have an explosion of information and be able to access, anybody can access anything now, and pretend to be a scholar, okay? But in Islam, scholarship and behavior and human sentiment goes together, okay? That is why in Islam, when you learn from somebody, you really immerse yourself in the personality of the person. It is called subha, companionship. So knowledge is not just rote, it's also companion. You live with the scholar. If you go to Africa and Asia, so other places, you live with the scholar. You imbibe his personality. Okay, no, there's a danger in that, and there's a good in that. Okay, so that is why the mother of Imam Malik, which is one of the imams or the leader of jurisprudence in Islam under the Maliki school of thought, she herself was a scholar. She taught her son Imam Malik Quran, and she also taught him the science of Islamic narrations and traditions and stuff like that. But she took him to one of the best scholar of Islam in the country, in Medina, the city of Medina at the time, and she told the scholar something very significant. She told the scholar, teach him manners before you teach him knowledge. Teach him adab, human behavioral, characteristics before you teach him knowledge. And this is what has happened. Okay, so that is why you have people go into these places to fight, and they have books on Islam for dummies. You see, because there's no human interface. They type in something. Okay, it says do this, that. But what's the context? What are the rules of engagement? They remove that interface. And that is one of the tragedy that we are seeing exploding in ISIS. That you have some young man who don't even know to take care of himself. He lives with his mother. Next thing you know, he's in Syria, commanding older men, women and children in Syria what to do and what not to do. And this guy can't even make up his own bed. You see? So this is a tragedy. So while it is good to have knowledge and we can go to the internet and you don't have to ask a scholar, okay? That have its dangers and that have its success. Okay, so these are not just difficult yes or no answers. So no, that is not part of our engagement. If we have to be engaged militarily, Secondly, the killing of innocents is totally prohibited in Islam. Totally prohibited in Islam. But what has happened is that is that there was a reinterpretation that took place in during the Algerian conflict, when the Algerian government were dressing up as rebels and raping, people, and killing the soldiers, and police were killing the families of the fighters over there. And the issue of whether how to revenge that situation, and some scholars put forward the concept that if they do that to you, you do that to them. Okay, and they did that by destroying the context of that verse, by leaving out the historical check. Asbabu nuzul. Each ayat, everything in the Quran has a background, historical background. I'm not saying that the verse is tied irrecoverably to the background, but it helps you in properly deploying and the understanding of the verse. If you take it away, we can see the results. We have lived the results. Where somebody can go to a cafe and just blow people up. Okay? That is because of a malfunction in analysis and a malfunction in interpretation of the Quranic message.